Welcome to Your Yes-Filled Life. I'm Brenda Winkle, energetic leadership guide, psychic medium, and somatic coach for ambitious leaders who know their gifts are real and who want to stand fully in them. Here, you'll learn how to trust your intuition, embody your vision, and step into the freedom you've been craving, all without chasing more certifications or carrying stuff that does not belong to you. Every week, I'll share powerful practices and conversations with thought leaders and changemakers that help you transform your vision into embodied confidence, claim your gifts without apology, and lead with both clarity and freedom. Because your gifts aren't cute, they're powerful, they're real, and they're needed. Start today by downloading my free energy audit at brendawinkle.com/audit. It's the exact tool I use to track what's fueling me and what's draining me. It will help you discern between that hit of achievement and true joy so that you can lead with more clarity and impact. This is your space to stop proving, start embodying, and live fully in your gifts. Welcome to Your Yes-Filled Life. Hello and welcome to Your Yes-Filled Life. I'm your host, Brenda Winkle. So there is a thought that keeps a lot of people with deep empathy and compassion kind of stuck. And it's not like you can't move stuck, but it's just stuck in this pattern, this looping pattern that sounds like, I just need more time. Or things are going to feel better when this season slows down. Or maybe it's when this chapter is complete. Sometimes it sounds like when I have more space, then I'll follow through. Or it might sound a little bit more like self-criticism. Why don't I go do these things? Why am I not getting these things done? And on the surface, this is all making sense, and it seems like it's all about time. But the truth is, this isn't as much about time as you might think. So most of the people that I work with, primarily women, a few men, are very thoughtful, self-aware, they're reflective, they are doing the inner work, they're paying attention to thoughts and feelings, they're tending to their energy, they're doing the nervous system regulation tools, they're listening to podcasts, they're investing in their growth. And still sometimes this narrative, this inner narrative comes through like, I'm not doing enough, or I'm not changing as fast as I want to. And that's the place where we're going to be talking today, because I want to tell you, it's not because you don't care. It's not because you're not trying. It's not because you're not doing enough. It's because there is something that's not translating into real life. And we're going to talk about what that might be, because there are some variations. So more time does not automatically create change. So for example, you can have a free afternoon or a lighter schedule this week, or what seems to be more space, and still avoid doing the thing that you know you need to do, or even that you want to do. You can avoid making the decisions. You could continue to delay those decisions. You can disconnect from yourself, instead taking all your attention outward so that you're really focused on what other people are doing. In fact, that's a very common one. You can default to old patterns, and there is something that might be happening on the subconscious level in the nervous system, which is that your nervous system doesn't believe it's safe for you to do the thing. The issue is not time. The issue is your relationship to yourself and how your nervous system, your body, your subconscious feels about you doing those specific things. So there are some different things that can be happening here. Let's address one of the most common things I see. So, for example, this week we started live calls for power. And inside our very first live call, someone in power said that she realized she'd been telling herself, I have more time now. I'm in this specific life stage and I have more time. I should be feeling lighter. I should be getting more done. I feel like I need to be actually being productive in my life. But when we slowed down and we regulated the nervous system and she had some time to think, 24 hours later, she came into our community and she said, when she actually looked at her life, it wasn't true that she had more time. She'd been telling herself she should have more time because one specific life configuration had changed. But when she actually laid it all out in a calm, regulated way, she realized it wasn't true. It wasn't true at all. She did not, in fact, have more time. And what she realized is the way that she was telling herself she should be doing more or should be doing these things was creating pressure, which then translated into overwhelm, which made negative self talk happen. Like, why am I not doing the thing? Which then made more stress in her body, which meant that then she wasn't doing anything because her body interpreted doing the thing with negative self talk, and then that caused stress. So, of course, there's going to be a point at which the body's like, yeah, no, we're not going to let you do that because we can clearly see that if we do that, you're going to be mean to us and say mean things in the inner narrative. So instead of pushing harder, which was creating my client's overwhelm and leading to inaction, she did something different. She told herself the truth. She actually looked at her calendar, at her schedule, and then instead of trying to should on herself about what should be happening based on what she perceived her time to be, she looked at it and created a new plan that matched her reality. Now, that is self trust. So, that is something I see very, very often, especially with very intelligent, high performing, emotionally intelligent women and men for that matter. I see this happen a lot where we are telling ourselves we have a certain amount of time, but if you actually put pen to paper and you figure out what time you actually have, you might have more on your plate than you think, which leads me to the second thing. So often we don't give ourselves credit for the things that are taking emotional bandwidth, the things that are happening under the surface that don't require you to do anything. And I'm going to give you a perfect example from my own life this week. So, this week, it's been a hard week for dogs in my family. So, my own dog, Bentley, has chronic pain due to an injury when he was a puppy. And because of his injury when he was a puppy, he didn't receive the socialization that he needed, which means he's reactive. So you combine chronic pain with reactivity, and he's got really extreme anxiety and reactivity. So we had to get some blood work done because we needed refills of medication because his pain isn't being managed. And it was a lot on my nervous system. And it was interesting because one of the most transformational moments for me came in being seen and acknowledged by our rehab vet when she said, I can tell how hard this is for you. And without me explaining what our daily life is like, she explained it to me. And being seen like that brought me to tears. And I cried not only in the appointment, but all the way home and for probably about 30 more minutes. It wasn't like I was sobbing, crying, but I just was walking around with tears falling from my eyes. I felt so seen and so acknowledged and allowed something to move inside me to reconfigure because, yeah, it's a lot to hold. And then I was worried about Bentley, but, I've been chronically worried about Jane, my daughter's Chiweenie, used to be our family dog. And I've joked many times that my daughter took her from our family home. But the truth is that the moment Jane laid eyes on Maya, she bonded with Maya and she chose Maya as her person. And so it made sense that when Maya moved out, she took Jane. So, anyway, Jane has been in increasingly fragile health for a while, and we've been doing the things that we know we need to do. And this week was her birthday. We make up her birthday. We have no idea when it is because she's a rescue, and we just made it up to be April 22nd because that seemed like a good day to have a birthday on Earth Day. And so we celebrated her birthday on April 22nd. And then we knew that Jane's life was coming to an end. We knew that her quality of life was declining really, really rapidly. And my daughter has made a couple of really profound life decisions that have changed the course of her own life over the last couple of weeks, including a major promotion at work and a major decision about her place of living. And I know that that impacted Jane in a way that Jane felt like my work here is done. And so between Wednesday night and Thursday morning, Jane's health rapidly declined. And by 10 a.m. on Thursday, my daughter and I knew that it was time. And so we had an incredible pet hospice come over for an emergency visit on Thursday night, and Jane passed peacefully in my daughter's arms on Thursday. And it wasn't that it was unexpected, but it happened in an unexpected way. We knew it was time, we knew it was going to happen, but it was really sudden in the way it all came together. And when I think about my productivity this week, it's not the same. I had to reach out to some clients and say, hey, the things that I promised you would be done this week are not going to be done this week. And it wasn't because when I looked at my calendar, I was doing more, but I was holding more emotionally, and I needed to give that space. And this is the other thing that can happen is we need to give credit for the things that are happening that we're actually processing, big changes or things happening or family members needing us. Those things all take energy and they don't end up on your to-do list, but they do affect your productivity. And so we want to give ourselves grace in that. And then the other thing that can be happening here, and it's really important to name, is if if your nervous system perceives the thing that you're doing as a threat, let's say, for example, in my case, I try to make a commitment to post every day on social media. I try to send an email 2 to 4 times a week. Those are my baseline. And if I have capacity, I often put together story sets because I love to message people in my stories. By the way, message me on my stories. I love, 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 love hearing from you in my DMs, especially on Instagram, but literally anywhere. I love hearing from you. And I noticed this week I didn't have capacity for it. Not having capacity is very different than if I would have felt like I was scared of what would happen in success. And it's interesting because the longer I work with people, the more I realized it's not actually failure that we're afraid of. It's actually success. And inside the membership, which has now changed names to the Empowered Empath Collective, we actually have a series coming in May where we're going to be doing a deep dive into this concept of how do we continue to expand and evolve into new versions of ourselves when it might be triggering for the people around us, when we might have an inner dialogue that sounds like, ooh, I'm getting too big for my britches. And so if you're interested in that, I'll put the link in the show notes. You can check it out because we are enrolling new members into that membership. But the point is, if we don't tend to our body and really listen to our own inner motivations, then we can miss something. Because here's the thing. Me saying I don't have capacity to do the things that I want to do is self-compassionate. And I hope that you do that for yourselves too. If I would have done that from a place of being able to avoid doing the thing, then that's something else completely. And in that case, we have a nervous system response at play That would very likely be, depending on the motivation and how it's actually coming through, it would be either the freeze or the flight response at work if you're not doing things because you're afraid. And here's the thing, it never looks like I'm not doing this because I'm afraid. It never is that simple. It's never that clear. It's never that obvious. You can't see the picture when you're standing in the frame. But I'll tell you something. I had a conversation with one of my private clients this week, and we were talking about some of the things that she's working on in her life. And she said, I don't have the typical fawn response. And the fawn is where sometimes we feel like we have to people please, like our life depends on it. It's literally a stress response in our bodies that causes our behavior to roll out in a particular way. And she was imagining that the fawn response looked like people pleasing, and it does, it can. And she followed it with the next statement of, I'm not a fawner. I'm not really a people pleaser. I just have always let other people make decisions. I've let them make the decisions. And I said to her, I'm going to say this gently, but did you know that that's part of the fawn response? When you let everyone decide things for you? And her mouth dropped open. Because again, the people that I work with are very intelligent. They're very educated. They are emotionally intelligent. They're very self aware. And the same thing is true for me. I can't see my own picture if I'm standing in the frame. I always like to say you can't see your own nose on your face. And this is one of those examples when getting outside perspective and outside support is essential, because if we can't see it, then we can keep telling ourselves, well, it's not this, it's not this, it's not this. And then it could be actually a nervous system thing. So most people that I know aren't struggling with time or time management because they don't know what to do. That's not the thing. They struggle because they can't stay connected with themselves long enough to do it. And again, this can be behavioral. It might be a pattern that you have, the where you just don't honor the things that you want to do or the things that you need to get done. It could be a boundary thing where you need more internal boundaries to honor the promises that you are setting for yourselves. But it can also be a nervous system thing where your body doesn't think it's safe for you to do the thing you know you need to do. So what happens is you override an inner nudge, like you need to go do this thing or you need to call this person or send this email, and you're just like, I'm going to do it later. I'll get to it tomorrow. Or you override an intuitive hit and you're like, this doesn't feel quite aligned, but I'm going to go ahead and do it because I'm sort of, putting momentum towards that. And it just seems like that would be the thing to do. I can always roll it back. Or you second guess decisions that you've already made, putting a lot of energy and bandwidth into thinking and thinking and thinking. And what happens very subtly is that there's a self abandonment that happens mid process. Again, this is not conscious. This is not like, I am choosing to self abandon right now. It doesn't ever happen that way. There is sometimes an awareness that it's happening. You might think, well, it feels like I'm never getting to choose. Or maybe it feels like I'm never the one that matters in these conversations. Or maybe it feels like I wish someone would finally give me a turn. Those are subtle cues that there's self abandonment happening. But most of this isn't happening consciously. It's happening in the subconscious, in the nervous system, or it's happening because of a habit. So what actually creates the change is not more time. It's not more information. It's not even more tools. It is support while you're actively doing things differently. This is the missing piece, because we need to have that reflected back to us that, yeah, this is not in your head. And a lot of times we just want to hear, you're doing a really good job. I can see why this has been challenging for you. Maybe we could try it this way, or maybe we could look at it this way. And then here's a big piece that I hear a lot. Oftentimes, we don't feel safe to allow ourselves to just be, to just enjoy the moment, whether that's lingering over a cup of coffee with your partner at breakfast, or maybe it's sitting in the evening on a couch next to somebody watching a show, or even watching the dog videos that you scroll through on social media. We sometimes tell ourselves that there's certain things that we're allowed to enjoy, and then there's other things that we're not allowed to enjoy. And what I would say, because I know many of us are conscious about we don't want to overconsume on social media, we don't want to overconsume on Netflix. What I would say is this: it comes down to motivation. If your motivation is you really enjoy that thing, go do that thing. Let it fuel you. Watch the show on Netflix. Scroll for 10 minutes, set a timer for yourself or something like that. Let yourself enjoy the linger over the cup of coffee. If, however, the motivation is to avoid doing something you know you need to do, or it's to avoid feeling something and you're using it to numb, then we have a different issue going on and we want to address that. And sometimes the only way to see that is to have somebody ask you the questions, which is why support matters so much. Now, I also hear this. I also hear people say things like, well, I think I just need more support. It needs to be like more ongoing. I think I need accountability. Or maybe it's, I think I just need a longer container. Like maybe, like, could we work together for a year and a half? And maybe you could text me a few times a week. And sometimes I hear, well, I just need more time to integrate. And sometimes all of this is true. But sometimes these beliefs are part of the picture that you can't see because you're standing in the frame, because you're stuck in a thought loop. And in those cases, what's happening is you're staying in a learning mode, a preparation mode, and a processing mode instead of practicing something new, practicing a new way of being, practicing a new order that you're doing things in your day, instead of implementing changes that you know you need to make, and instead of staying with yourself, like feeling safe enough to stay with yourself when things get uncomfortable. Because the truth is, a lot of the changes that we really want are on the other side of being temporarily uncomfortable. Growth is not comfortable. We know that, but we try to avoid it and we try and stay in learning mode. And also, that learning mode, that preparing mode, that's also a nervous system response. Welcome to flight. That is a great way to stay away from doing the thing that you know you need to actually do. So, this is why I try to create different ways to support you. It's where you interrupt the patterns, where you can practice in real time, have that mirroring, have that reflection piece, have that community where you feel like you're doing this in a group or with another person, so you can build self trust through action. Because the missing piece is not you knowing more, the missing piece is you doing the thing, not over years, but in a focused, supported way right now. So there's a couple ways that you can do this. One is the most private, high touch way to work with me, which is through private coaching. I have a very limited number of private coaching spots available each year, but I do have openings for 2 people to start in May. And if you're interested, you can apply. Go to brendawinkle.com/coaching and send in an application. If it's a right fit, I will contact you and send you a Zoom link where we can chat and we can talk about things. If it's not a right fit, I'm going to email you and suggest some things that might be even a better fit for you. So, invitation to go apply if you're looking for very high touch, intimate, one-on-one work. If you're looking for a place where you can continually practice, where you can build consistency, where you can have ongoing support with some weekly touch points and integrate this into your daily life, come check out the membership, the Empowered Empath Collective. This is a very affordable way to work with me. It's $3.33 a day to work inside this container. You can join at the monthly level for $111 a month or at the annual level where you get 2 months free. So you can check that out. I'm going to put the link for that in the show notes. I host that membership on School, which is Skool. It is a membership platform that is so user friendly and really puts forward the community aspect. And I love it over there. So come check that out. And for some of you, you don't need one on one work on an ongoing basis, and you don't even really want or need weekly practice. What you need is space and implementation, space where you can hear yourself clearly again, space to step out of the normal environment to disrupt some patterns, space to reconnect with what's truly for you. And that's exactly why I created the Ignite Retreat. If you've been craving that kind of space, the wait list is open and the doors open soon. There are very limited spots. I'll only take 10 women per retreat. So make sure you're on the wait list. You can even join twice if that makes you feel better. So I want to leave you with this. Where in your life are you telling yourself, I just need more time? And invitation to get curious and create some inquiry around what might be true instead. Is it that you need more time? Maybe. But my guess is it's not that you need more time. It's that we need more nervous system safety. We need more clarity. We need to give credit for the emotional processing that you might be doing. And here's a really simple place that you can start. Just write it down. Work it out. Just see what's real for you right now. And then get really curious and notice where should, I'm putting that in air quotes. If you can, if you're watching on YouTube, you can see it, where should is driving the pressure. And then you can start telling yourself the truth in a really loving, compassionate way. You don't need more time to begin. You just need a different way of being with yourself in the time you already have. Now, if this resonated, I want you to make sure that you're subscribing to the podcast wherever you're listening right now, because what I've decided to do is to create mini episodes, not mini episodes, but like a little bit of teaching around some of the topics that the members of the Empowered Empath Collective have requested on the podcast. And then we're going to go deeper inside the membership. So if you want some more ongoing support, come check out the Empowered Empath Collective. And Power is underway. We won't open the doors again for Power for a while, but if you want to join the wait list, you are certainly welcome. And if you're feeling the pull for deeper space, join the wait list for the Ignite Retreat. Thank you so much for listening to Your Yes Filled Life. If you enjoyed this episode, would you please share it with 3 people you care about? And go leave the podcast a rating and review wherever you're listening. We are well into the 30,000 download territory. We have maintained our ranking in the top 5% globally for all podcasts for a long time. And ironically, on Jane's birthday, April 22nd, we celebrated our 4th anniversary. And we're like 260 some episodes in. It's mind blowing. I can't even believe it. I started this out as like, I think I want to try a podcast and see how it goes. And I was just curious. I couldn't even call myself a podcaster when I started. I was just someone who hosted a podcast, which is also a way for me to lead into our next topic, which is how do you identify as the thing that you really want so that it becomes part of your identity, which makes it so much easier for you to show up in the way you want. Thank you for being here. Bye for now. Until next time.